Hello guys, welcome. In our last class, we talked through the concept of object and we connected that object to the real world and how we usually see the objects around us in our day-to-day life and how does that concept connect to the software, right? Especially in Java, what that object looks like. So I gave you a pictorial representation of object. So we discussed about state behavior like you see on the screen, right? And we talked through person, car, and there are a lot of objects like that in our real world, right? So that's all good. Just to summary, like if you just recall, object has state and behavior, right? So today what we can talk through is, okay, so we talked about the object. Then in real world, how first of all, how do you create any object, right? So let's talk through a few examples, and then we bring that concept into programming and how we can create that. Okay, so let's take few examples of objects. For example, a pen. You see, pen is an object, right? And it has color and it has some model, right? The design of the pen, and then some it has some text on the pen, right? So that is one object. And if you see here, mouse is another object, right? So let's take one of these examples today and then see how we can create it, right? So in the real world, how do you usually create this mouse? So before you even create it, what do we need, right? So let's say a person, there is a person, he knows how to manufacture mouse, right? So as a client, I go to that person and ask him, okay, can you create a mouse for me, right? And he will ask set of questions, right? Okay, what design that should that mouse look like, right? What should be the color of the mouse, and how does this operate? So how many clicks it would have, right click and left click, right? And the overall this the scroller, and then the overall design of the mouse. So he need all that information, that person needs all that information before he go ahead and create this mouse. So in this case, create this object, right? So somehow we need to put that information in some place. Maybe we can write it in a paper, right? Okay, this needs this color, this design, all that stuff. So for example, let's talk through, let's say we're creating a, we're writing that in the on the paper, right? What do we do? So let's say here class concept dot java, right? Okay, for a second let's ignore this. So what do we write? We mention color of the mouse, right? And then we say it has a right click button, right? Left button, let's call that right button, left button, and then it should be the size of the mouse, right? Probably we will say size, right? We'll say okay, color, size, and we say small, right? Right button, left button, color. Just to keep it simple, just this information is good enough to start with, and then he'll go ahead and create this, right? Now the color we got here, the black, right? And he gave this mouse. This exactly looks what I asked for. Okay, so still we're still in the real world, we're not into the programming concept yet, right? So yeah, now I need 100 of these mouses, right? Or 1000. So when I go to the person again, hey, I need 100 of these mouse, and then he'll go ahead and manufacture. This time, since he has this written, he will just exactly follow the same template, right? I told that person, okay, it has to be black, right button, it should have right button, left button, and then it should be small. So he will follow these instructions, right? So even it's not about number of objects, it could be 1000 or 1. First of all, he would have followed these steps, right? This template. What is the template here? Okay, mouse template we gave as it should be, the color should be black, right? Color is black, and then it should have buttons, right? Buttons should be right and left buttons, and then size should be small. So we figured out a template from this information, right? So from this template, he can store the template, right? The person stored the template and he delivered what I asked for: black color, right button, it has right button, left buttons, and then small size. Now tomorrow some other client comes up to him and then asked for design the mouse, so creating these objects. Okay, that's good. So his requirement is that, okay, I need white mouse, and then I should have right buttons, left button, and then button at the top, for example, right? And then I need to have scroll button as well, and then size, right? Size should be big mouse. I need big mouse. So since we added this scroll button here, let's remove the button at the top. We don't need that. Okay, so what's the difference you see between this requirement and this requirement? That client wants scroll button on the top of the mouse, but this, when we got this mouse, we did not ask for scroll button, so we don't have scroll button on this mouse, right? So when the second client comes up with a new requirement like this, what he would do, he has the template, he has template already with all the basic stuff. Since he has a scroll, he asked for scroll button, he can just add that to the template, right? So in the template, he would say, okay, scroll button, right? Now he uses that template and then continue to create these objects, right? So the point you have to take away from this conversation is that whenever you are creating object, right, you need some reference from which you read the information, and then you go ahead and create it. So if you apply the same concept to a pen, same thing, right? A pen, you should provide the design and whatever those basic attributes that is needed. Using that information, we go ahead and create pen. That's what happens in companies, right? In factories. Even you take a car, or building a house, right? First, what they would do is, in the case of house, they would design the architecture of the car, architecture of the building, right? Okay, so they draw out the template, they draw out the blueprint of the house, right? it should have 4 bedrooms, it should have 1 kitchen, right, bathrooms, all of that. They will put that onto the blueprint, and then they will stick that blueprint on the sheet at some part of the construction place, right? And that's what engineer does, right? And then the workers, they come and they see, okay, so they exactly follow the blueprint, and then they create the house, right? So in this case, we know house is a object, right? Where this house is created from? It is created from the template, right? It is referenced from template. So the template or blueprint, that is what is called class in the terms of software. In the real world, object house belongs to a software terms of object, which is what I explained in the earlier class, is this circle, right? And this object is created from a blueprint, which is class, right? So let's apply this concept to class. So we discussed through mouse, right? So let's define the syntax for this class. For class is class keyword, right? And then before class you will say modifier, access modifier. So whether it is a public class or private class or protected class, don't worry too much about it. We can go through that in the later videos. And then give the name of the class, right? What would be the blueprint name? If we had given the name to the blueprint there, we would say house, right? We could name the blueprint as a house, or for the mouse, we could say blueprint of the mouse is a mouse. And then from that you will create a template. So the same information that we recorded onto the on the before this, you put that into the class. So what we defined for mouse to start with, private. For now ignore these access modifiers, private. And then we need to define the color of the mouse. So color is, the value of the color is black, red or blue, right? That is a data, right? So in Java, to store something into variable, we have to define that variable and of type of that. Okay, so we haven't come to that data types discussion yet, so just focus on class for now. Just ignore this. Okay, what string and what is that? And then we defined buttons, right? For now, basically you will say, let's string, for simplicity, right button, right, left button, and we define size, right? That's it. So what these represent, this is the state. That's where the properties, you can call them as a state or properties of the class. So you're recalling, right? So these properties belong to where? So here, the state, the place of the state in the object, the name, age, right? Likewise for this one, we have, let's split this to the right so you can see both at the same time. And so we defined that. So that is here. And then we need to talk about the behavior, right? Which is what? The methods. The methods we need to define so that when you create an object, you can interact with that. Okay. So for all these, you will have public methods, right? Public or private methods, it depends on your requirement for now. So let's define quickly get color, right, and then return color. So I'll just put a method for couple of buttons, couple of properties here. Okay, so we'll save some time. Get right button, return right button. So instead of right button, I think to keep it closer to the reality, let's say get size, right? We're returning the get size. But for buttons, basically you would operate on that, right? You will basically click, right? That's how you are interacting with this object, right? To, like I mentioned in this class on this diagram, to interact with the object, you always interact with these methods, and those methods will use these state variables, and then it does whatever it needs to done, right? So in this case, let's say I want to click on right button, right? So you will have a method right click, right button click, or click right button, right? Click right button method. So here, okay, so for now we'll just system.out.println, and then you will say right button clicked. So to understand the concept, right, in the real world you would usually click it. When you click it, you will store that state, right? So likewise you will have click left button. So imagine when you interact with this object, you are really operating the mouse, interacting with the object, right? So left button clicked. So for now it is good. So the you see why it is showing the red the error here. So basically, whenever you define a class, the name of the Java file should match to the class. So you see, that's why we create this hello world.java, and if you see the hello world, see the class name matching to the file name. That is the convention we need to follow, right? So just rename this and name it as mouse, right? Okay. That's it, right? So this is what is called the blueprint of the mouse. This is the template of the mouse. Now how do you create object? Now we have a template, and when we ask that person, hey, manufacture this object, we are trying to replicate that scenario in the software world, right? Now let's talk through how we can create. Since we have this main class here, let's go ahead and create a object for mouse. So the syntax is mouse, right? You'll mouse and then the variable name. Whenever you are creating an object, you will create with a new keyword. Okay, now this is the object. Don't worry about this data type and what this variable is. We haven't talked through the variables yet. For now, let's understand how to create an object. Whenever you want to create an object, you will use new keyword and then class name and then parenthesis. That is what is called object. At this point, this mouse is created, right? And whenever you do this, you imagine something like this. in the back end some circle is created. So here the mouse circle is created, and then in the memory, that's how you imagine. So you can visualize that way. So here whatever the template variables that we put, they go into the state place, and then the methods behavior, all this get color, get size, click right button, click left button, they all go here in the behavior, right? So you could now, like looking at this class object, you could get the question, right? Okay, so we created the object, but where did we mention the color of the class, the color of the mouse, and the size of the mouse, right? So with this representation as it is right now, it will be having this the circle. But if you look at let's say, let me draw this here for you. Okay, so let me take this here. Okay, now let's draw that as it is. With the new mouse, it will be something like this. It would have created like this. So let's change the color of that here. Right. All right. So okay, so it would be empty circle, and then the other way also you can represent this way, right? You can say inner circle is all state, right? Where in this case the state is color, size, buttons, and the methods are here outside, right? So when somebody wants to interact with this mouse object, so let's say this is mouse, right? They will interact only with these methods. In our case, it is those methods. But as it is the object, the way we define here the object, it just has these properties here. So we have defined the colors, right? So basically in this area you will have those properties. Since we have not provided the value for those properties, they will all be there, but without any values, right? They're all empty. They're just variables, but you will understand more about what variables and that concept. But for now, they will all have those properties here at this place, and then it also have methods. So to interact with this object, we call these methods and interact with the state there, right? But the takeaway from this class is you know what is class now, right? That is a blueprint of the object that you want to create, right? Where this object is created from? Object is created from the blueprint always. So we call that as an instance of class, right? So for this mouse blueprint mouse class, you can create n number of objects, right? Each object we call it as an instance of that class. Instance means one occurrence, like one type of, right? So that's how you use that in the real world. You connect the real world creation of objects to the software world. Okay, so that's all for today. So next class, let's continue on this class, and let's see how we can provide extend from that, right? But before that, we have other concepts to discuss, like you need to know what variables and all the stuff. Let's discuss those. Then we can discuss, like we can plan how we can make sure that you understand at the same time you understand these variables and also the this concept. For example, public, private, all that. What is that, right? Why are we doing it? So let's do this. We let's talk through how we can provide these values to this object, and then at the same time we can talk through this whatever you see in this class, right? All right, so Yep, let's catch up on in the next class. See you there. Bye.